In the early years of the internet, at least the early decade of the consumer internet, there was a website that came out that was about a group of kids who had been lost. The website detailed all of the police reports, interviews, testimony, their casework, and even shared childhood photos of 3 people by the name of Heather, Josh, and Michael, who were setting out to make a documentary known as the Blair Witch Project. Their footage was found a year later, and thus began the phenomena. Later that month, after the airing of the website, there was missing photos that were handed out at different events that showed Heather and Josh and Michael as missing people. Even the website of IMDb detailing that they had disappeared and been missing. January 30th, 1999, the final moments of that footage was aired and premiered at the Sundance Film Festival at their midnight showing. April 2nd, 1999, the trailer for said footage was leaked. July 12th, 1999, the documentary Curse of the Blair Witch was aired on Sci-Fi Channel that detailed the killings and disappearances of some of the residents of Blair, Maryland from the 18th to the 20th centuries, telling of a ghost called Ellie Kedward, who was a witch in 1785 who was sentenced to death by exposure for practicing witchcraft. The documentary is packed with newspaper articles, newsreels, TV and news reports, and even interviews with some of the family members. At this point, America is almost in full grasp of the Blair Witch Project. By August 1999, just a few days later, the Blair Witch Project real footage was aired in New York at the Angelica Film Center, and then later released to 25 other territories, and then even further, July 30th, 1999, to the entire nation of the United States. America and the world is now in the full grasp of the witch and the 3 missing students of the Blair Witch Project. By August 1999, the website for the Blair Witch has over 160 million hits, grossing the film worldwide $248.6 million, over 4,000 times more than the original budget. This phenomena was known as the Blair Witch Project. Let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and I am very honored and happy today to share with you one of the films that really impacted me in my life, and that is the second sight release of the Blair Witch Project. Now, this is the standard version, but there is also a limited edition that includes a book, Heather's journal, and a bunch of other stuff in a hard case. Second Sight was kind enough to send over the standard edition, which you can still pick up on Amazon, and I'll put links down below. If you're good, maybe you might be able to find a limited edition out there, but it may or may not get remade, but I'll put links to everything down below so that you can wish list it and look for yourself. You might just want to pick up the standard edition anyway, because this is loaded with a lot of really great stuff, and everything that you love about the film is going to be in here anyway. So I'm going to go over what I think of this film, a little bit of the history of what I experienced, what I think of the franchise and everything, and then I'll go over all the features and everything that's included in this fine release from Second Sight. So let's get into it. So some of you may know that I'm actually quite a big fan of the Blair Witch. Am I its biggest fan? I don't know. But I will say that the Blair Witch really did have a huge impact on me as a movie watcher, a horror fan, and a film fan. I went to the theater in Baltimore, Maryland. I lived in Maryland where this movie was shot, in like Rockville, Granite, and Burkittsville, and all these other places that I lived within a 20-mile radius of. I used to go to a lot of these places, including Burkittsville, where they had a spook hill. You could park your car on a hill and a ghost would push your car up the hill. No joke. And that night we decided to go to a local church that was broken down and run down and just a really old church. And we walked up with a flashlight and it died as we crossed the threshold. It was pretty scary, but you know, I grew up in that area, so I think it had a little bit of an impact on me. In fact, the newspapers that day when I was going to see the movie theater were trying to warn people that it wasn't real. Like, why would you ruin such a wonderful experience that people really got to enjoy? In my mind, I compare the Blair Witch Project to something like War of the Worlds when they aired that radio play, and people thought the end of the world was happening. They were calling the police. Everything that this movie did, all those things that I told you in the beginning of this video that led up to the release of this film and the phenomena, was some of the biggest marketing campaign that has ever been seen for a film. It was one of the first viral movies ever to be made. And I believe that the campaign that they did, the people who did the marketing, the firm, and the people who came up with a lot of the ideas, actually went on to work with 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor's Year Zero album. But don't mark my words on that. I just vaguely remember something about that. But yeah, 2 guys and their friends who were inspired by a little TV series known as In Search Of, with Leonard Nimoy, by the way, who was the Star Trek star, obviously Spock. It ran from 1976 to 1982. We're inspired by it because it was such a mysterious TV show that jumped into a lot of the like weird missing people, mysteries, and things around the world. That show planted the seed that made them go out and create a documentary style movie. I think it's interesting. I think it's a piece of film history. And I know a lot of people watch the film today and they go,
there's nothing that happens in the film.
Or they get frustrated with the things that happen in the film because they don't understand the lore of the film. Like, why did they throw away the map?
It was useless. I kicked that fucker into the creek.
There's even some fan theories out there that one of the members of the team actually was out there murdering everybody. And it's a pretty good sell, but I still prefer the supernatural version of it. I even reached out to the director. I had an argument with one of my buddies over the movie, and I reached out to finally get the answer once and for all. And I said, were they in hell? Because I feel like they were in hell. They were trapped in the forest, and there was nothing they could do to get out of there with a map, a compass, or nothing. And Eduardo Sanchez wrote back and said, once they crossed the Stickman Forest,
they were doomed.
That was good enough for me. Always loved that about the movies. They're stuck and trapped in the forest, the time travel and things like that. Before the Blair Witch sequel, not the part 2, which I have mixed feelings about, but the Blair Witch one that came out in the later 2000s. But I think it's actually scarier than the original. Like I said, it hasn't really aged all that well, but some of the techniques that they used in this were applied to many other different films, found footage films, and even just regular film. You know, there's something to be said about it, so whether you like it or not, I still love the history of this movie, and it's almost impossible for me to score now because I got to experience it the way that it was intended. I got to experience the ad campaign. I got to experience the documentary, all the little steps that led up to my moment in that theater that left my mouth open agape. And, you know, I hope in some ways when you watch this version, you'll see and rekindle some of that nostalgia that you got when you first saw it. And maybe if you never did get to see it in the theater, you still find the value in all the sound design and, you know, ideas and concepts that they came up with to make this a believable story. The amount of effort that they put into this really paid off, even if it was improvised in a lot of parts just to make it seem real. And to be honest, the whole reality TV thing was kind of new.
True story.
So this really shook a lot of people because they thought it was real. But anyway, I'm going to tell you all about the extra features and everything that are in here and go over that with you real quick. I just wanted to kind of share some of my experience and what I think of these films, what I think of the franchise and everything. I'm a fan. I may not be the biggest fan, but I appreciate and respect where this film has been, what it did for the movies that we've seen in the future. It's like the Beatles to me. It's infected everything, and everything after them has been thanks to the Blair Witch Project, if you understand what I mean. without further ado, let's get into what's in this release from Second Sight on the Standard Edition, and I'll tell you a little bit about what's in the Limited Edition as well. But let's get into it. Now, Second Sight does a lot for the extras, and they do fantastic work on this. If you don't know, this has the original theatrical cut, the festival cut, and like both of them have been restored with the high 8 and the 16 millimeter film elements. So it looks beautiful, like better than I've ever seen it before. And I have the DVD, you know, which you would think, oh, well, it can't get any better than high 8 on that, right? Wrong. The frame rate in particular was better than on the Blu-ray of this and the DVD of this. It feels like a wholly new film in a lot of ways. And the festival cut even has extra like footage that is in the film. Now, I couldn't really place which parts that was, but the festival cut is the one that you're going to want to watch with the high 8 and the 16 millimeter restoration that they did on this, which is just amazing, approved by the directors and the producers. So it's really good. And when I saw it, holy shit, I was like, wow, this is like experiencing it almost like I did the day that I saw it. The clarity, the frame rate in which you see it. In fact, they even include the 35 millimeter like expanded print that they put in the theatrical run. And for some reason, the frame rate's different. It just doesn't feel right. It's a little darker too. So for me personally, I like the festival cut, and that's going to be the one I watch going forward. So obviously you get the cover here, which is not the original cover, and there is no reversible. So this is what you get. Here's the front. This is them walking through the forest. Blair Witch on the side. And all the special features and everything right there for you. Now, when you open up the case, you get 2 discs and, you know, the trays, which is pretty cool. I like that they did 2, so it's not just on top of each other. That's just, to me, that's just lazy. The features on this, I'm going to go over with you. On the first disc, you're going to get the restoration, theatrical, and festival cuts of the high 8 videotapes and the 16 millimeter film elements, supervised by the directors and the producers. So it includes the original exhibition theatrical cut from the 35 millimeter transfer master. So all 3 are on the first disc. The theatrical cut, new audio commentary by Alexandra Heller, Nicholas, and Josh Nelson. They also have the theatrical cut, directors and producers audio commentary. So in order to hear the audio commentary, you'll have to watch the theatrical cut. Now on disc 2, you also get the Blair Witch documentary, which is a 2-hour and 20-minute Second Sight documentary that was fantastic. It's almost worth just getting this release for the documentary alone. It's longer than the movie, and it's filled in a lot of the spots that a lot of people don't talk about. You also get the Blair Witch Project Analog Horror in Digital World by Mike Munzer. We also get the deleted scenes, including previously unseen video and 16 millimeter footage, which was awesome. And we also get the alternate endings, plus Curse of the Blair Witch, the 44-minute documentary that I was talking about, and the Cannes 1999 archive directors interviews and trailers. It all comes in this one release, which I think is probably going to be one of the biggest releases, the limited edition especially, for the year. This is going to be one of the top 5, I would say, at least top 3 maybe, if you're a fan of this movie. If not, you know, maybe not, but I still think that this is a fantastic release. To be able to get the fully uncut, the way that it looks and how beautiful it comes across on the screen, whether you like it or not, whether you're scared by it or not, and if you're a collector like me who likes history and likes owning a piece of it, well, this is a really good release to have, even in the Standard Edition. I'll put links down to both. Right now, I know that you can still pick up the Standard Edition, so if you want to try to get it before it's gone, I don't know if they've announced any kind of re-release or reprinting or extra. There is another release out there that isn't different than this one, but this is the one that has the festival cut and the restoration. The other one is just the regular old Blu-ray done again. I'm happy with this one. I would have loved the limited edition, but I'm happy with this anyway because I just needed to have a copy of it for myself. But yeah, thank you, Second Sight, for sending this out to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for thinking of me. Everything I do here is to share the love of horror and the history of it, and to learn about it, and to dive in and dig into piles of horror so that you guys can find all these wonderful movies. I really appreciate you guys so much. So thank you so much. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. If you're not, hit the like button. Everybody comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think of this movie, the franchise, all of that, this release. I would love to hear from you. But other than that, thank you so much for coming by. And as always, long live the void.